David Lilienfeld was a 20-year-old surfer from South Africa. All his life, David had loved the sea. When he was just a young boy, he would often paddle in the shallow water. When he was old enough and had learned how to swim, David took up surfing lessons. He had seen lots of other people surf, and he thought it seemed like a cool sport and a way to spend more time in the ocean. As the years passed by, David became incredibly good on a surfboard. He even eventually became a champion surfer. There was truly nothing that David loved more than to be out on the ocean catching waves with his board. Having grown up surfing, David knew all about the dangers of the sport. From bottoming out on a raised seabed to being caught in a riptide, the young man had heard about them all and had even experienced a few himself. However, the number one danger in the ocean was the animals that lived within it. Whilst there are plenty of beautiful fish who wouldn't harm anyone, there are also plenty of large fish who would attack without warning, all of them being sharks. South Africa's coastlines are one of the top 3 global hotspots for shark diversity, with 204 different species recorded in them. That is 1/3 of the global diversity. Within that variety of species is one of the most dangerous sharks of all, the great white. Because of how warm the waters are, the great whites return yearly to give birth to their pups. There is also plenty of food around the African coastlines, which entices the sharks even more. With the biggest great white sharks able to reach up to 20 feet long, it's easy to see why people don't want to be in the water when they're lurking about. In fact, one of the largest great white sharks ever recorded was a female called Big Blue. She measures 20 feet in length, weighs 5,500 pounds, and is thought to be over 50 years old. Normally, when sharks are spotted in surfing waters, the surfers are alerted and are able to get out of the water before anything bad happens. However, there are sometimes situations where the surfers aren't able to be warned in time, resulting in some terrible incidents. And in 2012, one such incident occurred. David, his brother Gustav, and their father were all at Coeel Bay Beach, a popular surfing spot which lies close to the town of Gordons Bay, around 30 miles east of Cape Town. It was a beautiful day, with perfect conditions, so David and Gustav had decided that they wanted to go bodyboarding with some of their friends. Their father had also joined them as he enjoyed the fresh sea air and watching his sons have fun in the water. The day had started off perfect. Both Gustav and David were enjoying swimming in the ocean and simply having fun. But something then happened, which no one had been expecting. Gustav had noticed a rather large-looking wave heading towards them, so he decided to head out into the sea a bit further to try and ride the wave to shore. David had decided to miss the wave, and so stayed where he was. It was in this instance that the 20-year-old suddenly felt an incredibly sharp pain on his right leg. Then, seconds later, he was pulled beneath the surface of the water. Witnesses from the shore stated that they had noticed what looked like a 16-foot great white shark swimming in the water near the surfers. Multiple people had tried to warn the surfers, shouting out to them to get to safety, but no one had heard them. From the moment that the great white approached David, all people could do was watch in horror as the nightmare which unfolded in front of them. At first, when the shark initially approached David, it simply bumped into him roughly. However, after doing that, the animal doubled back to go for the kill. David tried his hardest to put the bodyboard between himself and the shark, hoping that it would deter the animal from attacking and cause it to swim away. Unfortunately, this did not happen. The shark continued its attack, pushing against David's board until it could finally sink its razor-sharp teeth into the young man's right leg. With a bite force of roughly 4,000 psi and teeth as sharp as a knife, there was no way for David to escape the animal's grip. The young surfer was pulled underneath the water, where, a few seconds later, a large red area of blood appeared. Frantic, Gustav swam towards his older brother. He knew that he had to try and help him somehow. Luckily, by that point the shark had gotten distracted and had let go of David's body. This meant that Gustav was able to grab a hold of his brother and quickly swam towards the closest rocks. However, upon getting onto dry land, it soon became very apparent that David was not in good shape. The entirety of his right leg, from below the hip, had been torn off and was nowhere in sight. With such a massive injury, David was bleeding out at an alarming rate. Gustav and his father held onto David's body, reassuring him that the paramedics would arrive soon, as witnesses to the attack had called them. But David's wounds were too extensive, and he passed away in his father and brother's arms on the rocks. Neither Gustav nor his father could believe what had just happened. One moment they had been laughing and joking around in the water, and the next second, David was lying dead in Gustav's arms. It seemed like the attack had only lasted mere moments, but it had changed everything. It didn't take long for the paramedics to arrive, but by the time they got there, they were too late. An NSRI rescue craft had sped to the scene from Gordons Bay, as the position where David's body lay had been near the rocks above the water's edge, about 100 meters below the road. But the pounding ocean surf led rescuers to decide to haul the body back up the rocky cliffside instead, as it was safer. David's body was then wrapped up into a body bag and carried up off of the beach and to an awaiting ambulance. Following the attack, the police were called to get a thorough insight as to what had happened. They questioned multiple witnesses, who all said that they had seen the same thing, a 16-foot great white shark attacking David. Understandably, David's family were devastated. They couldn't believe what had happened. Not long after the fatal attack, it came to light that a documentary crew had been filming in the water nearby to the beach. They were accused of risking public safety by chumming the water to lure sharks close to the shore for filming. Experts had expressed concern about the practices being used along the False Bay coastline, as they worried that one of the sharks could possibly head towards shallower water where swimmers most likely were. At the time, Cape Town-based shark author Dirk Schmidt claimed that he had gone to observe the film crew only to watch as they lured white sharks close to their boats and then fished them out to tag them for the project. Whilst it was impossible to say whether this activity had any bearing on what had happened to David, it certainly didn't help to bring the sharks so close to the shore. After the tragedy, the documentary was canceled in light of the situation. However, in a confusing turn of events, South African officials soon became confused about who was actually filming. The officials had said that a team from National Geographic Channel's Sharkmen were issued with a permit to film. However, National Geographic called the officials to tell them that they didn't have a crew out filming in South Africa, as they weren't making any more Sharkmen episodes. An investigation quickly began. However, it was not released whether the crew were from National Geographic or not. As for David, he was buried in his local church. A great white shark of similar size was spotted in the area nearby, and it's thought to be the shark that took David's life, but was never caught by authorities. The shark is still in the water, somewhere off the coast of South Africa, waiting for another chance to bring someone else like David Lilienfeld to their terrifying final affliction.